Hello, I'm Seth, the Capitalism editor-in-chief of Forbidden Origins Comics, and that's Jalapeno, aka Habepo, aka Big Boy. And I'm here to ask a question. Have you ever watched the Halo TV show after playing the games and been like, what the fuck? Have you ever watched The Witcher after playing the Witcher games and reading the Witcher books, and then you asked, what the fuck? Well, there's this recent rash of adaptations that have very little to do with their source material, and if they do have a lot to do with their source material, they take lots of liberties with it at some point. That's for a reason, and it's capitalism.
Evil is evil, strike 'em all.
So I don't know if you've been following film at all recently. They're in trouble. Them streaming pretty much all the fucking video games too. Like if you think about it, all of them are into this exponential growth that is just not feasible for very long. Everybody's trying to make endgame money.
Take that off. What are you?
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Not everybody's endgame. Not even Marvel can produce an endgame every year. They got lucky with Spider-Man. Guardians didn't even make it that much, and that's probably the best film they've made. Probably the best film they've made.
This is my ship still. I'm in charge.
I know.
That's the same for streaming too, right? Think about all the shows that are streaming. They're either like low budget reality TV shows, or they have a decent budget, but they're all based on a book. And if they have a high budget, it's usually based on a comic book or a video game. Because of that, there's not a lot of original material that gets a big push, at least financially. There's a lot of people whose strategy as like writers is to write a book first so it can be adapted into the film they've always wanted to make it. That's why you see like a bunch of books be like, oh, this reads like a screenplay. It's probably because they wanted to write a screenplay. They couldn't sell a screenplay because it was the original material, but because it's a book and the book has sold well now, that tells film executives like, hey, this is a known property that can get you money.
I feel so alive! Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching-gery.
So think about this. You're a fantasy writer. You have this epic in your brain about dragons annihilating half of the planet or something, and it's a war between the dragons and the people that are left, and the people that are left, I don't know, they get their powers from demons in hell, whatever. That's your idea for a TV show. You're like, it's going to be 3 seasons of this. Okay, where the fuck are you going to get that money? Who the fuck's going to pay for that?
Listen, you cross-ages cheapskate!
They don't know you. And if they do know you, they don't know that this idea is feasible. The times where there are original works out there tend to get canceled in a season because places like Netflix will cancel stuff almost immediately if it doesn't make a certain amount of money behind the scenes.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
So in that case, what do? What if you have a fantasy idea? Well, what you do is you find a pre-existing product that resembles what you want to do closely, and then you pitch that as your idea. Now, that is kind of, I don't know, I think that's a bit scummy, but that's kind of the way that a lot of writers have to pitch their ideas now. It's like, oh, well, this can work for Halo. This can work for The Witcher. And to be fair, the film industry has been doing this for decades at this point. Look at Steven Spielberg's film history. Look at Stanley Kubrick's The Shining versus The Shining book. Look at Starship Troopers, a fantastic movie that actively hates the book. So this is a thing that's been going on. The problem is that there's very little to counterbalance that now. The only real like film studio doing this is like A24, where you can pitch them any fucking crazy idea and they'll go with it. Either that or you have to go outside of the country. That's why a lot of the original stuff that we're getting on streaming services is coming from like Korea or Japan or China in some cases, especially Britain. Like we fucking devour British TV shows. But overall, we are being strangled. The American original like creative voices, they're being kind of smuggled by capitalism. So it's not entirely that writers hate the works or think they can do better than the works. It's that without the works, they can't really do what they want to do. And I guarantee most people didn't want to be artists just to adapt other people's work. They wanted to do their own thing. They wanted to leave their own mark on their own story. But unfortunately, the best that a lot of people are going to be able to get is to leave a mark on somebody else's story. That's really why I think it's really important to lift up indie voices, pretty much in any industry, indie music, indie comics especially. They're really where you're going to see the majority of the most creative stuff that talks back to people in power especially. So if you go on Threads, go on our Discord, anything like that, please leave support for your indie creators, because that's where you're going to get all the cool shit for the foreseeable future. Anyway, I'm Seth. That's all I have for today. That's Jalapeno, aka Habepo, aka Big Boy. Bye.